The intent is today I'm going to kind of model. I'll give you a few minutes to do your portion. And that's kind of how we'll proceed. Okay, so what we're doing in the dimensional analysis project, we'll take a look first at the instructions. You are taking a hypothetical road trip, okay? Your trip is going to be within the continental United States, and you should be choosing a destination that's within 500 miles one way from your current location. Okay, I'm going to do A through D first. So you remember I live in Houston, Texas. So a location that I like to go to that is within 500 miles of my home is San Antonio, Texas. You obviously don't live in Texas, so you're not going to choose this one. You're going to choose one that's close to your home. You can choose anywhere. So after I chose San Antonio, I went to Google Maps and I calculated the distance that San Antonio is from my home. And it is 199 miles from my home, but we want the round trip. So you can see I multiplied by 2 to get 398 miles. Pretty simple, right? Then this next question asks, how did you determine the distance? Well, I just told you I went to Google Maps, right? And so that's how I got the first 3, right? No calculations needed. Those you're just going to choose your location. I wouldn't make it difficult, although yours will be definitely different than mine, okay? Now I'm going to do D. Okay? So convert the round trip distance from miles to kilometers. That 1 mile equals 1.61 kilometers. So what I'm going to do for my work here is I'm going to take my 398 miles and I'm going to multiply by, think of our fractions we did last time, right? I need the miles on the bottom and the kilometers on the top. So when I write this in one line, it might look something like this, 1.61 kilometers per 1 mile. Yours is going to look different. Your conversion is going to look the same, but your amount of miles is going to be different. And then I'm going to go to my old squeaky calculator, right? I'm going to do 398 times 1.61 divided by 1, and I got 640.78 kilometers. Choose your location, go to Google Maps, find out how far it is from your location, multiply it by 2, just like I did. Put Google Maps as your resource, and then do your conversion for part D. Next piece. We're going to focus on E through G, okay? So E through G is what is the gas mileage on your car in miles per gallon, and how do you know this? Now, you probably have an idea of what your gas mileage is. I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and Google it. I literally said, what is the gas mileage for Toyota Tundra, which is the car I have right now, okay? I cringed, but I wanted to be able to say where I got it from. And so the website I got it from was fueleconomy.gov. Now, I didn't go to fueleconomy.gov and look it up. I literally Googled, what is the gas mileage for a Ford Tundra? And I got 19 miles per gallon. That's highway. I went with highway. I'm going to go ahead and do F and G. So how many gallons of gas will you need for this trip? So for me, you'll remember my gas mileage was 398 miles. Sorry, my number of miles I need for the round trip. I'm going to divide by the gas mileage for my car. So I took my round trip divided by my gas mileage, and I'm going to round to the nearest gallon, 21 gallons. I'm going to finish doing G. Today, I looked up the gas mileage, the average price per gallon, and it was, as of today, you can go to the site and check me, but It was $3.37 per gallon. And so what am I going to do for G? I'm going to take my number of gallons that I calculated. Yours will be different. 21 gallons times $3.37. So I'm taking my number of gallons from F and I'm multiplying by my $3.37 per gallon, and it's $70.77. For part H, we want to take the total number of gallons of gas, which for me is in part F. So I got 21 gallons, and we want to convert that to the nearest liter. So when we worked on Monday, we had that our nearest, our conversion was that 1 gallon was 3.78 liters. That was our conversion we used on Monday. Remember with our dragging and our dropping, our dimensional analysis. So here's what I'm going to do on H. I'm going to take my 21 gallons that I need for this trip. Remember, that was the answer I got in part F. I'm going to multiply by the 3.78 liters per 1 gallon. I'm going to put that in my old calculator. 21 times 3.78, and I'm going to need 79.38 gallons. Oh, sorry, 79.38 liters, my mistake here. So on I and J, you have to assume, because you're told this, you have to assume that your average speed is 40 miles per hour. No way ever would you drive that speed on the highway if you ever intend to get there within a reasonable amount of time. So what we want to do is to calculate the average speed, that's 40 miles per hour, into kilometers per hour. So let's write down the conversion we'll need here. We're going to need the conversion that 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers. We're going to take our 40 miles per hour, and this is everyone. Everyone's going to be the same here. So we're doing 40 miles per hour, and we're going to multiply by the 1.61 kilometer per 1 mile. And you're going to do your calculation on a calculator, 40 times 1.61, and you get 64.4 kilometers. Just a side note, part I is the same for all of us. All of us should have the same answer on part I. It's the only one we all should have the same answer for. Okay? Now, part J, how long will this trip take you in hours? So this one you have to go back to your mileage. So you'll remember my miles, my round trip miles to San Antonio is 398 miles. And I'm going to drive 40 miles per hour. Okay. Now yours is going to be different because you're going to have different mileage, but we're all going to divide by 40 miles per hour. And I think it's like 9.95 hours here. As a side note, trip to San Antonio for me is about 3 hours there and 3 hours back when I'm driving a normal highway speed, right? But 40 miles per hour is going to lengthen it out a little bit. All right, friends. So we're going to spend some time on weather now. And for our weather, we are going to be looking at what the typical weather is for this time of year for you. So for me, where I'm at in Houston, Texas, it is today, it's about 82. Okay. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to convert this to Celsius. Now in red here, I have put the formula you will need for that, where C is for Celsius and F is for Fahrenheit. So I'm going to make my substitution here for you. I'm going to take 5/9, then I'm going to have a parentheses 82 minus 32. Now in the parentheses, 82 minus 32 is 50. And I'm going to type that in my calculator, 5 times 50 divided by 9. 5 times 50 divided by 9. I am going to round to the nearest degree. So I got 28 degrees Celsius. And I'm just going to put a note myself, nearest degree. Now I'm going to go ahead and do B here for number 2. For San Antonio, Texas, it's a little bit further south than I am. So it is about 86 degrees. And I'm going to do the same calculations. I'm going to substitute it in my formula there. So 5/9, 86 minus 32. Do your parentheses first. So 86 minus 32 is 54. And then again, you're going to type in your calculator. 5 times 54 divided by 9. And I'm going to get exactly 30 degrees Celsius. All right, so let's look at number 3 here. I am going to work through A, B, and C. So someone will be taking care of your dog or pet, but we're going to go with the dog. If you don't have a dog, now you do. So you just got a puppy. The one piece of information in the instructions I want to highlight is that veterinarians recommend that dogs who weigh 30 pounds should eat 14 ounces of dog food each day. Now, I don't have a dog, so I'm going to use the weight of my cat so that I have something to use. Now, please don't judge my cat. I know she's a little overweight. She's 12 pounds. My vet currently has her on a diet, so she will lose some weight, but we're not going to hold it against her, right? Some people in my last class were telling me they had bigger cats than that. But my cat, she is 12 pounds and she's a little sensitive about it. All right, so I'm going to use the weight of my cat just so I have a reference point. And then on B, I need to make up how many days I'm going to be on this trip. This is a hypothetical trip, so I get to make it up with any number of days that I want. So for my sake, I'm going to do 3 days. 3 days. Now, we want to know, C is probably the most calculations you will do, okay? So we want to know what is the minimum amount of dog food in pounds that you must leave for the puppy sitter, so there'll be enough food for the dog for the entire time that you are gone. Okay, so I've got several calculations to make in this one box. So follow along with me as I make the calculations. Now, the first thing is I've got to deal with the 12 pounds, and I want to multiply by this 30 pounds gets 14 ounces of food, okay? So pounds, 30 pounds, that's going to have to go in the bottom. So I'm going to do 14 ounces divided by 30 pounds. If whatever weight your animal is, remember mine's 12, whatever that is, it's going to be multiplied by 14 ounces divided by 30 pounds. Now I'm going to do that in my calculator. So I'm doing 12 times 14 divided by 30. I got 5.6. That is ounces. Okay. Now I need to that is for 1 day. That is 1 day. Now I'm going to do that 1 pound is 16 ounces. That's my conversion I need. So let's do 5.6 ounces times 1 pound divided by 16 ounces. So again, I took my first calculation, the 5.6, and now I'm multiplying it by 1 pound over 16 ounces. Remember, I need the ounces to cancel out. So in my calculator, I do 5.6 times 1, divide by 16, and I get 0.35 pounds. So 0.35 pounds is how much my dog/cat needs for 1 day. So my last calculation is to take my 0.35 pounds, multiply by 3 days. and I'm going to need 1.05 pounds of food. Took my weight of my cat. I used it for my dog, right? That's my 12. Then I multiplied by the 14 ounces per 30-pound animal that the veterinarian said. That's where I got 5.06. Then I took my 5.06 in ounces. I multiplied by 1 pound is 1 pound over 16 ounces. I got my 0.35 pounds. Then I took my 0.35 pounds and multiplied by the number of days that I chose for my trip. What's going to happen on number 4, we are going to suppose the same trip is being made, but you're being made in another country. You're going to get to choose one of the countries in the chart that you want for your trip. And the reason we're asking you to limit only to the countries that are in the chart is because of the information that we've already given and planned in the chart. So I'm going to look at making my calculations for, I'm going to go ahead and do 1 through E, and I'll show you why, A through E, because A, B, and C are just looking up information in the chart, okay? So for A, you're just going to state the country you choose. Remember, you're choosing one of the 5 countries that you see in the chart. They're in pink. For me, I chose Egypt. That was my location that I chose. So all I'm going to do here in A is just type in Egypt. Okay. Then for part B, find the average price of a gallon of gas in that country. You're just going to the chart. You're looking in that second column for your country, and it looks to me like Egypt is 65 cents. So I'm going to type that information. You can see how I was saying that A, B, and C are just looking up information in the chart, right? So for Egypt, second column, price per gallon, 65 cents. Now in C, we're asking for what is the exchange rate. Again, this is in the chart. This time you're looking at column 3 for your country. So Egypt's exchange rate, column 3, 15.63876. Okay, and I'm just transferring that information here. 15.63786. And their currency is also called the pound. I'll make sure I got my numbers right. Yep, I sure do. Okay. Now, part D and E, we actually need to use some information that we did before. So part D says, how much would the gas for this trip cost if you were traveling in that country? So in my case, in Egypt. So you'll have to go back to part 1, or question 1, I should say. Question 1, part F, to get the gallons that you calculated. Now for me, I calculated 21 gallons. So I'm going to take my 21 gallons and I'm going to multiply by my price per gallon, which in Egypt is 65 cents. Question 1, part F, get your number of gallons. That's what you're going to multiply by 0.6. Well, you're going to multiply by your price per gallon, whatever country you chose. I chose Egypt. So 21 times 0.65, or 21 times 65 cents gives me $13.65. So $13 American dollars and 65 cents. Okay. Now remember, I'm going to give you a chance to do yours here in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and do E. Now we want to take how much would the gas for this trip cost in Egyptian currency? So the $13.65, that's US dollars. So I'm going to take my $13.65 and I'm going to multiply by my 15.63786. That was my exchange rate. So again, you're basically in this case multiplying part C and D. Your answers for what you get, you're multiplying part C and D there. Okay, and again, you're doing this on your calculator. 1365 times 15.63786. I got 213.46. And this is, for me, Egyptian pounds because I chose to do it with Egypt. Now, if you're doing the German franc, then that would be in francs. Okay. Again, A, you're choosing a country out of the chart. B, you're looking up in column 2 that information for that country. C, you're looking in column 3 for the information for that country. And then D, you're taking your answer from question 1, part F, and you're multiplying it by your price per gallon. And then in part E, you're taking your answers for C and D and you're multiplying them together. So we went through questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have done all of the math together. Let's look at the written piece that you'll need to make sure you address before you click submit inside of Canvas and upload your document. The written piece talks about other factors that are involved in a trip such as this. So you'll want to address the questions for each of the bullets here. For instance, the first bullet, discuss how many days you'll spend at your destination and why. I said during our calculations I was going to spend 3 days in San Antonio, Texas, because one day I want to go to Fiesta, Texas, which is a theme park. And I want to spend another day shopping at the Riverwalk, which is a shopping area in downtown San Antonio. And that's kind of how I justified it. So you'll just want to talk about those kinds of things that you're planning and how it justifies the number of days that you're going to spend on your trip. Then bullet number 2, discuss at least 2 other specific travel related expenses besides gas. So for me, because I don't have family that lives near San Antonio, I'll need to make sure that I account for a hotel. And I also want to eat good when I'm there because San Antonio is known for really good Mexican food. So those are going to be my 2 expenses to consider. And then how much do I think these are going to cost? Well, that's going to depend on you. How much are you willing to spend? If I'm going for 3 days, I need 2 nights stay at least. How much am I going to spend on a hotel? How much am I going to allocate per day for food? Just think through those things. That's what you're responding to here in written form. And then the third bullet, discuss how much money you should budget for the time you are at your destination and how did you come up with this amount. So for me, that's definitely going to take my gas expenses. I'm going to take my hotel stay. I'm going to take my food money. And then I'm also going to take into account, I wanted to shop one day. And so I might put those all together and that would be my budget for the trip. Those you just want to talk about in sentence form. You can definitely put them right there under those bullets, and that will wrap up this assignment.